Nobody asked for this. I mean, talk about a theme song. I'm sure that, most people do not record their own theme song. So, if anyone says I don't have any talent, I could see how you would say that. But if you look beyond, you look at the facts and the truth of the matter, I can host a show and sing my own theme song. Who does that? Besides every Disney show star, at least when I was watching Disney and possibly continuing to now. Are there still Disney shows happening? There must be. Like, what are the kids watching? Like, I know it's not like Hannah Montana anymore, but like, is there like Hannah Montana adjacent content on Disney? I don't really know. I would Google it. I love a Google search mid-podcast. But I wouldn't even know what to Google. Because it's funny, those types of like kid shows, you watch them when you're, a kid, shockingly. But then you don't really hear about them again. So it's like, oh, what happened to them? Anyway, welcome back to, I think, taking a sip of my lemon water. That's actually coffee. We'll get to lemon water in a second. I think this might be the 40th episode of the Nobody Asked for This podcast. 40. That's pretty cool. We're coming up on a year, I'm pretty sure. I think a year is like, 52 weeks, 54 weeks? One of the two. I get mixed up weeks in a year and number of cards in a deck. Similarly to how I mix up minutes or seconds in a minute and cents in a dollar. I was thinking for a while 100 seconds was a minute. No. Or something will be $5 and 71 cents. And I'm like, there's no 71. There is. But I'll work on it. I think life is about growing and changing and evolving. And you have to start from a lower place to get to a higher place. And starting at a lower place I can do. That's where I started. That's where I found myself. I think some people are born at level 3. I was born in the basement. But I'm working my way up. Okay, I have to say something. Coffee cannot be good for you. It's essentially like the drinkable version of battery acid. So I don't know why it's part of everyone's morning routine. It could be the caffeine. And in fact, I'm pretty sure it's the caffeine. But I'm not certain why. There's other drinks that you can get. Sorry, I'm looking at a hole in the wall, and I'm wondering if it's a spider or a hole in the wall. Are those cracks or legs? Okay, I'm going to say hole. Anyway, there are other caffeinated beverage. You could have and I've never tried most of these, but you could have a matcha. Apparently that has jumpy caffeine. It's just stimulant caffeine. I made that up, but as opposed to you're gonna your pants caffeine. You could also drink, I know there's you could drink a Red Bull. You could, I'm not saying you should, I'm saying you could. Which, little known fact, Red Bull actually has the amount of caffeine that's in a very weak cup of coffee. It's not what people think it is. It does not provide what people think that it is going to provide. I think it is a farce. Not to call out Red Bull. I actually, embarrassingly enough, enjoy the taste of a Red Bull and will have one from time to time. But it doesn't wake me up in the way that I think the bull is trying to think that it does. It's Red Bull eat. Yeah. Red Bull eat. And if anyone isn't familiar, and by anyone I mean no one listens to this, so really everyone is familiar. Everyone that's listening to this now is familiar. I say eat so that I don't have to go back and edit, the actual swear word out. But regardless, I'm just sipping on my morning battery acid. wondering how this became the drink. My other question about coffee, right? And I Google this every 6 months, and I forget, and then I have to do it again. It's like going to the dentist, you know? I go to the dentist every 6 months. I say I'm gonna floss. I forget. I go to the dentist again in the 6 months. They say, "Did you floss?" I said, "Nope." Because really, there is no point in lying. Like, if you're lying to the dentist about whether or not you flossed, you're really not lying in the proper way, because they can tell. You know, in my life philosophy is only lie if there is, beyond a reasonable doubt that you could be caught guilty, I took Law 12, and I think that is where I really shaped that philosophy. And I think the government copied me and uses that as like the burden of proof or whatever when juries are convicting people. But yeah, only lie if if you're like 99% sure you won't get caught. And in that situation, if you're telling a dentist who is like it can see your teeth better than even you can, which a lot of these medical professionals, you don't really think about it, but they can see sides of you that you can't see. Actually, 50% of you, because you can't really see your backside, which I don't mean backside as in only butt, but like your literal back, you can't see. The back of your legs, you can't really see. I guess you can see the back of your, what are these called? Your calves. You can see the back of your calves pretty well. But who does weekly inventory of their calves besides me? But yeah, if you're lying to a dentist who can really tell whether or not you flossed, you maybe need to rethink your lying abilities. But back to my biannual search of, is it the caffeine that makes you your pants when you drink coffee, or is it the bean juice? Because something's happening. Something happens down there when people drink coffee, and it is like a universal. I actually love coffee because of that fact. I think it makes people more open about their bowel movements, and anything that does that is something that I'm going to support. So I'm not necessarily like coffee's number one fan, but I will drink it. Cheers. For the sheer fact that I think it encourages bowel conversation and opens diarrheal discussions, which is the name of the episode. Dear Diarrhea, but like dash UH. Dear Diary, and I'm going to spell it like that. You know what? Sometimes my titles are better than the episode, and sometimes they're bad, which matches the content that you're being provided. But after going on 47 tangents, I will finish the point of, I believe the only thing I remember from me searching is it the caffeine or the bean juice, which is also a brilliant episode title. I think there's a couple things at play, as to what is the diuretic. No, that means you're dehydrated. What is the laxative? What provides the laxative effect of coffee? I think it is mostly I think some of it is the caffeine, because the caffeine activates your system. Also, it's usually the first thing people drink in the morning, which apparently the first thing you drink in the morning ushers everything out. It flushes it out. Like your dinner from the night before, your dessert. Let's say you had a breakfast, or what's the opposite of breakfast? A midnight snack bowl of Cheerios, which I think is a pretty popular midnight snack. You drink that, the coffee hits the Cheerios in your gut, and the Cheerios goes, "This was our spot." But the coffee's like, "I'm in here now, and I smell like battery acid." And then the Cheerios are like, "Okay, whatever, just take it. We don't even want it anymore." And then it goes, it's like someone walking in a room with bad breath. So think of me walking in a room from the ages of 7 to 14. I was the coffee to the world's Cheerios. But I fixed it now because, again, I go to the dentist and I tell them the truth. All of this to say, it is kind of wild that the thing that people drink every day for breakfast is probably not that great for you. But then, I don't know that I could go through the effort of making lemon water. This was a few years ago. The lemon water trend, I think it coincided with the avocado toast trend for whatever reason. I just feel like lemon water isn't doing anything. You know what I mean? Like, it's a nice little, like, pop of flavor. Also, I'm not one for fruity water. Not because I don't like flavor. I just feel like it doesn't do enough. Like, obviously, everyone knows water is, like, bland. And I can accept bland. But when I drink, like, a lemon water, it just tastes like juice that was severely, severely watered down. And I feel like that tastes sadder to me than just accepting the bland for what it is, you know? It's like if I'm in my pajamas and I just rolled out of bed and my hair gel has congealed from the night before and all my hair sticking up on one side, I can be like, listen, like, I didn't try. So I obviously look terrible. But if I, like, go through the effort of, like, taking a shower, brushing my hair, which I just realized was the key to making my hair not look like it was unbrushed. For a while, I was putting hair gel in my hair with just my hand, and it was looking messy, and I wasn't sure as to why, so I thought, let me just use this, like, weird prick thing with, like, the little combs or whatever. It's called the brush, I've learned. And it looked perfect, so I was like, oh my gosh, people should be doing this more often. But if I try and I still look bad, then it's, like, embarrassing. So if I'm just drinking bland water, I can just accept that as bland water. But if I'm drinking, like, lemon water, all I will want from that is, like, lemonade, of which it is not. But honestly, lemonade is kind of ruined for me because one time I made lemonade with, and I'm going to call them out, I'm going to say brand names, with Real Lemon, REALEMON, which is a brand of, like, lemon juice from the bottle. Now, the only thing I do appreciate from them is the way they spell it, because the L at the end of real is also the L used at the beginning of lemon. And I think that's fun, you know? I used to sit at McDonald's for hours, and by hours I mean probably 15 minutes, and stare at the pop machine when they had Fruitopia. Because Fruitopia is spelled F-R... Oh gosh, I'm scared. This is reminding me of the spelling bee that I got it on the first round. I think it's F-R-U-I-T, so fruit, and then O-P-I-A, Fruitopia, and the T is again at the end of fruit and the beginning of topia. So I would just stand there and be like, Fruitopia, Fruitopia. Because I was wondering, like, which side the T was on. You know, I didn't really understand neutrality at that moment. I was, like, trying to force it to the left or force it to the right. Some would say I was ahead of the curve in that, but it was confusing to me, but I also enjoyed it. So Real Lemon, I'm calling you out. One time I made the exact recipe at the back of your bottle. You put a couple dashes or whatever the heck of the terrible lemon juice, and you add sugar and mix it with water. And talk about battery acid. It was the worst thing I had ever drank in my life. And that was at a point where if I made something, I automatically liked it. And I made it and I didn't like it. And I can explain that a little bit. I would always say, oh, I hate sandwiches. Like, someone would make me a sandwich and I would say, well, I hate it. But then I would make that exact same sandwich using that exact same family recipe, ham and cheese. And I'd be like, this is the best sandwich I ever made. I love sandwiches, you know, just because I made it. So if at that moment, in that time of my life, I was saying something that I made was bad, you know it was bad. And because I can't take the blame for something bad, you know, being brought into the world, I'm blaming Real Lemon, which I believe is still a business. And if you were going to sponsor me, I apologize. If you still want to sponsor me, I will totally edit this out because I'm for money more than, you know, sharing my experience. So we can work something out. But yeah. Not great, if you ask me. Okay, what else can I complain about? It's actually been a pretty good week. Oh, it's time, speaking of biannually, it is time for the biannually complaining of the daylight savings period. We have, I believe, exited daylight savings time. Or no, have we entered it? Are we in it or are we out of it? No, we've entered daylight savings. It's always confusing to me because it's like, I always thought it was just like we were always existing in daylight savings, and then like sometimes we flip back and sometimes we flip forward. No. Apparently it's something that turns on and off, and I believe we just turned it on. Now, what doesn't make any sense to me is, okay, daylight savings, we're saving daylight. But we're not actually saving daylight, because you're saving it in the morning or the afternoon, at night. So it's like, yes, the sun stays out till like almost 7 o'clock now, which is great. I love it. No complaints here, even though it sounds like I'm complaining. I'm really not. But it doesn't get light outside till like 7:30, 8 o'clock. And I just feel like if we're saving daylight for the farmers, don't the farmers wake up at like 4 or like 3? So what help is it to the farmers to be working for essentially half their day in complete darkness? Is it good for the crops? Is it good for the harvest? What is the harvest? Also, we're pretty far from Thanksgiving, no matter what country you're from, because the Thanksgiving is in the fall. So it's like, are we growing the Thanksgiving food that we're going to be eating in 6 months or whatever the months is? More than that? Like, is that what we're growing? Like, are we growing the turkeys for the winter harvest? Because here's the thing. I complain a lot. Oh. Sorry, my very professional studio, there was just some noise that was definitely not a cement truck driving past the car in which I'm using to record. Definitely not that. Yeah, I don't know who opened the window in my studio, forgive me. But actually, no, that was actually, I don't know what I'm talking about. That was your car when you're playing this, driving. There was a car that just went by you. That was not me. You did not hear that from my audio. That was you. Gaslighting 101. Anyway, yeah, I'm really trying to realize that, not everything is about me. The world doesn't actually revolve around me, although sometimes stuff happens, and I feel like it does revolve around me in a negative or positive way. So if a farmer wants to broadcast live on TV and just give an explanation as to why daylight savings is necessary, I'm open to it, I'm really, 2023, I'm opening myself up to other possibilities. So if there is an actual reason for this happening, if there is an actual reason for me waking up at 4:30 a.m. this morning, maybe the point is to turn us all into farmers. Maybe it's like farming, like, not propaganda, but like farming, like, I don't even know what the word is, but I'm open. So if a farmer, preferably in a straw hat, just to really sell the look. They want to hold that like pitchfork thing as well, just to really sell it, wear some plaid, or like farmer from anywhere around the world. I'm open to it. But like, I need an explanation, because if I'm just, losing an hour and then gaining it back every 6 months, like, I just need an explanation as to why. Because again, I woke up at 4:30 this morning. Now, I don't exactly understand why, because I didn't go to bed till like 12, because 12 is 11, and 4:30 was like 5:30, and I never in my life do I routinely wake up at 5:30, so I can't really fully blame daylight savings. It might have had something to do with the coffee that I had at 10:30 p.m. Battery acid. I should have exchanged that thing for a lemon water. Maybe I'll try that tonight. You never know. It's a new opportunity. It's a new dawn. It's a new day. But these new days are starting at like 8 because the sun decides to be late for work every day because of daylight savings. So again, I'm not gonna waste the time to Google it to get like half responses from that little box thing at the top of Google, for which I receive all of my information now and judge my life choices based off of, and receive medical advice. That little box, you know what I'm talking about when you Google something into the computer and you just get like the brief, like it'll just pull like a sentence or two from one article. That box is my dentist. That box is my doctor. That box is my lawyer. That box is family to me. And I just want to honor it. And I try to, but sometimes it steers you wrong. But yes, if any sort of professional, maybe not even like a professional in the field of daylight savings, just any sort of professional anywhere wants to issue a sense of understanding and explanation, I am all ears. Okay, moving on from that, it is, again, I've mentioned this a few times. I don't really talk about current events or news topics, because at the end of the day, no one's listening to this, so who cares what I have to say about something happening now? Because what if in 3 years people finally gain some taste, acquire a sense of what's good, and start listening, and then I don't want them to have to listen to a bunch of news stories from 10 years ago, or I guess 3 years ago, whatever number I used in this fake facade. I don't want them to have to hear about a bunch of boring stuff that has happened in the past. But this is history. We make exceptions for the royal family, who we both are fascinated and semi-disgusted by, or disgusted's a harsh word, but question. We don't endorse it. We is also me, by the way. It's just me. And this next topic, which is the coronavirus 19 pandemic. It has been, as of this week, 3 years since lockdown. Yes, 3 years since we all turned in for the greater good and learned TikTok choreography for probably like 2.5 months, like strict 2.5 months, and then on and off, like in different phases for like honestly like 2 years, maybe 2.5, depending on where you were. But yeah, reflecting back on that time now, I have to say, I was in school. So school just went online, so that didn't change. I worked, and I, was lucky enough to continue working, and I got to go into work. Of course, me at the time, me being a disgruntled 19-year-old, I was like, of course, like, just my luck. I picked the one job that, didn't shut down. Obviously, I understand. I was very lucky to get to continue working. A lot of people lost their jobs. I did not. Not to get so serious, but of course, at the time, would I have rather stayed home and learned, some TikTok choreography? Probably, potentially, maybe not, and probably wouldn't have done any of that. But I would have. How much I would have eaten had I stayed at home? The quarantine 15 was real, and I was 19, so I was coming off of my freshman 15, so I just had some 15s stacked up against me. It was like I was staring at a mountain of 15s, and that mountain conducted of Cool Ranch Doritos, cinnamon rolls, lots of cereal. My favorite cereal at the time was the churros. It's like Cinnamon Toast Crunch, which I normally didn't love, but they decided to put it in a churro shape, and I thought it was the best thing that ever happened. Now, you could say it's literally the same thing. What is the difference? I don't know. I can't tell you the difference. All I know is that I like the churro ones better. What else was I eating a lot of? I was doing a lot of hash browns in the, like, you could buy these, like, almost like milk cartons of hash browns that you would fill up the water, hot water. You'd let it sit for like 10 minutes and then you would fry it. Oof. Those were good. What else was I eating a lot of in quarantine? It was a lot of DoorDash. It was a lot of McDonald's breakfast. We did a lot of that. That was fun. It was, one of the good things about, obviously good, it was terrible. But one of the silver linings was delivery apps decided to kind of get with it and create don't talk to me options. They gave you the option to say, just leave it at the door. Because before then, you had to do the terrible task of, hearing the doorbell ring, going to answer the door to meet your fellow human, interacting, God forbid, picking up the food that you ordered, and then, closing the door, wishing them well. For whatever reason, now I enjoy it. I enjoy saying hello. I don't find it as odd to, be greeting a stranger who I ordered via app to pick up my food. I think we're all kind of getting more used to that. I like saying, thank you. It's not an easy job. It might sound like it's easy, but running around town picking up random people's orders, they deserve some credit. Absolutely, tip them well. But for whatever reason, I remember being so excited when basically the do not disturb of Uber Eats ordering apps allowed for less human interaction. And even though it was a COVID thing, I was more than happy to enforce it way long after that lockdown was lifted. The only problem with ordering stuff is I like ice cream. And I remember a couple times I ordered Dairy Queen. And I mean, we've talked about this before. Love Dairy Queen. Longest reigning monarch in world history, pretty sure. Check the stats, check the numbers. But on a good day, when you're standing either or parked in the driveway or the drive-through, standing in a Dairy Queen, ready to get your order, like on a good day, on a cold day, you get your Blizzard or whatever, and it's like half melted. So imagine ordering a Blizzard on a delivery app in 30-degree weather, Celsius, in the summer, in the middle of lockdown. By the time I got it, I was drinking a milkshake, which I enjoy milkshakes, but I did not order a milkshake. I ordered a Blizzard. So I had to put it in the freezer, which is just so many more extra steps that I got heartburn from it, and I had to have a Tums. Actually, I think I started Tums in quarantine. I think quarantine was the impetus for my Tums journey. Just in case anyone doesn't know, Tums is a heartburn medication. I think it's pretty like it's like a Tylenol, It's like brand name. People know what it is, but just in case. And I believe that started because I was literally eating all hours of the day. I loved a 2 a.m. bag of chips. I'm sure even like my neighbors across the street could hear the crinkling, that noise at 2 o'clock in the morning. They're like, what is that? And it was just me eating chips, and the crunch, that noise. But yeah, and then I would go to bed, and then I would wake up, because I still kind of woke up pretty early. So for whatever reason, I don't exactly know how heartburn works. I just know that when I would eat massive amounts of chips, go to sleep, wake up 5 hours later, it would be painful. I would be in physical pain, spiritual pain, emotional pain, guttural pain, my gut biome, my microbiome. I mean, it's never been good, but it was definitely out of whack at that present moment. Why does my hand smell like ketchup? Anyway, but yeah, 3 years is kind of wild that it's been that long, but also not wild, because the first 2 months felt like 3 years, and then everything since then has felt like a week. So I think if you do the math, if you subtract some ones, we're there. I have to say, embarrassingly enough, I still don't have a TikTok, and you could say, no, this podcast has a TikTok. Well, it technically does. We had a TikTok, and by we, I mean me, for about a week, and I was like actually good and like actually posting stuff, and this is when we actually had segments and actually recorded into real microphones and actually like planned out the show before it evolved into what it is today, which is me on a beanbag chair, the day before release, talking into my iPhone, which I think was always where we were destined to be. I have to say, I did a podcast that no one ever heard. And I was probably like 15. So what is that, like grade 10? I would literally do what I'm doing now. I probably did it 3 or 4 times. I never really had plans to release it. I just felt like, you know what, this sounds like a fun idea. Thankfully, I knew not to release it, but now I'm thinking I probably should have, because that was like 2015. 2015, no one had a podcast. I don't even know how I knew to do a podcast. I would have been I would have been a podcast pioneer. I could have been rich. I could have been, eating celery juice in the lockdown as opposed to mass amounts of Cool Ranch Doritos. I could be shopping at Whole Foods as opposed to Half Foods. I could be, I could be on a throne as opposed to a beanbag chair in my basement. I could be speaking into a microphone. There's just, oh, sorry, that was my hoodie string hitting the fancy podcast equipment. But yeah. Tums, what do you know? This was not sponsored, but now I'm glad I've really tracked who to blame my my acid reflux on, and it is none other than the good old coronavirus 19 pandemic, which I really try my best to just sort of blame everything on. I'll be like, oh, why do I have no friends? Oh, it was COVID, obviously. It's because of COVID. You know, why did I forget to buy gorgonzola when I'm making a recipe that calls for gorgonzola? COVID-19 pandemic, duh. Why is gas like $800? COVID-19 pandemic. That one might be true. I don't actually know. Why did I just have to in the middle of the podcast? Or I guess towards the end. COVID-19 pandemic. Why can't I taste my food as well as I once could? COVID-19 pandemic. Why do I go through 45 bottles of hot sauce a year so that I can get some flavor out of my food? I'm going to give you 3 guesses and the first 2 don't count. COVID-19 pandemic. Well, I would like to thank you all. I would like to thank you none. I don't want to thank you. I want to thank you. There's just no one hearing this. In the least sad way possible, do I recognize that fact. I want to thank anyone who's listening for listening. If you're listening to this and you think, if you found this randomly, like maybe I feel like YouTube is where a lot of people, not a lot, is where 3 people have found this show like by accident. So if you're on YouTube and you happen to hear this, you can go into the not subscription box, subscribe. You can go into the description, that's the word, so it's the D, not an S. You can go into the description. I have the links of where to find the show. We are on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, a couple other places. We have a website, podcastnobodyaskforthis.podbean.com. You can just listen to the episodes on there, or you can find the links to everything else. We have an Instagram, we have a Twitter, we have again, TikTok, as I mentioned before. Haven't updated it since June. Do you know what? I'm just going to start saying our social media person is on hiatus. Our social media person is on hiatus since June. What else do we have? I wanted to make a MySpace, but I couldn't on account of it doesn't exist anymore. And yeah, if you happen to listen to this and you liked it, or even mediocrely, like you didn't hate it, thank you. I appreciate that. If you listened to this and you hated it, I still appreciate the listen. And if you want to hate it next week, oh my gosh, no, that is a spider. A little bit earlier, I think at the beginning of the show, this episode, I was talking about how I wasn't sure if something in the wall was a hole or a spider. That is a full spider. Like father spider, a mother spider, a uncle, aunt, head honcho spider. Like it is you know in Finding Nemo when they have like the head of the sharks? It's that the spider equivalent. That is the biggest spider I've ever seen. But I'm not going to kill it because one time I did that once and I felt so bad. It haunted me for weeks. And this was I was probably grade 5. I still remember it. Anyway, I'm going to go. Have a great week. Have a great weekend. Happy Thursday. If you are listening to this on the day it came out. If you're listening to this on other days of the week, I'm just going to go through them. Happy Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Wednesday. And yeah, we'll see you next time. Or hear you next time. Or I'm not going to, you're not really involved. You're going to hear me next time. Okay, bye.